We'll be speaking with our special guests here tonight, our RUSA president, Justin Schulberg, and our public relations chair, Vlad Carrasco, if I'm saying that correctly. Nope. I said that completely wrong. How would I say it?
Vlad Carrasco.
I usually ask my guests before I go on, but forgot today.
That's fine.
All right, but let's get into the questions. So before we start with the initiatives you've been pushing, I know that the big story of the night is regarding the Cook-Douglas power outages, and I've seen some of your Facebook posts spreading information and resources to students. But what is your response to both the power outages and the handling of the housing situation?
Right, so it's a very difficult situation for Rutgers to be in, PSE&G as well, but the Rutgers Student Affairs Department is working around the clock all night tonight along with the University Facilities Department. They'll be staying up all night trying to help out students, the thousands of students that live on campus on Cook and Douglas. So what they've done is they've opened up 3 rec centers, the RAC on Livingston, the gym and rec center on Livingston, as well as Werblin over on Bush, for students to actually be housed in. All of the dining and student center facilities on College Avenue, Bush, and Livingston are all open. And then also for the students who have decided to commute for the next couple days until their housing is back open on Cook and Douglas, they've actually they will be relaxing parking regulations and restrictions tomorrow on Livingston campus. So that way those students can go home for a couple days, and if they need to commute, they can go and park on Livingston to make it a much smoother transition. But they definitely have an emergency plan in place. They got thousands of cots out within hours, and they're all set up now, and students are actually filing in to those different rec centers.
All right. Well, we'll definitely keep you updated with any new reports, especially if the power comes back on. That would be big news for us. So, but moving on from that, you're here to speak on a number of initiatives that were recently passed by RUSA and mostly focusing on students' health regarding alcohol. Now, let's start with what was a pretty large funding move on the part of RUSA, the Scarlet Knights Watch. Now, what does this new initiative entail?
So the Scarlet Knights Watch is an overarching campaign, not run by RUSA, but run by actually the university, to promote safer drinking practices and increase public safety on campus. So we recently pushed a portion of it that we are spearheading, known as the Midnight Snacks program, which is just a table on high-profile party nights and hand out food and water to partygoers to essentially promote safe drinking practices on campus. Well, what we're hoping to do is a couple things with this. So we're trying to create a culture and an expectation of food and water when students go out. So hopefully, as we continue to hand out food and water, students get so used to it that if they go to a party or they go to a pregame and there's no food and water there, then that's not okay for them. Then they decide to go to another party or pregame that offers food and water, because that completes their night out, their full experience. So we're trying to create that culture. We're also doing something else with it. So obviously you know that there's a suggestion that you only take or drink 1 drink per hour. And I'm not sure if all students know that, but I have a feeling that not many students follow that rule. So what we try to do with this initiative is to actually, I guess, almost indirectly enforce that suggestion. So what we do is when students come from other campuses, from their pre-games, they come on the bus over to College Avenue usually, and when they come off the bus, they see us there with food and water. They come, they get food, they get water, and we actually had music going, and they were able to, we had all the tables and chairs out, so a lot of students, we had hundreds of students sitting in front of the student center just eating, drinking water, and that actually spaces out the time in between their last drink from the pregame and their next drink at the party.
Yeah, very smart.
Yeah.
Definitely. Wow. Well, going on this theme, RUSA's worked with the administration to have the dining halls extend their hours for football games and are now opening at 8:30 in the morning on game days compared to 9:30 on most days. Now, what is the advantage of extending access to breakfast on football game days?
Well, Ryan, this is just another aspect of our promoting a safer drinking environment, and by allowing students to come to the dining hall earlier, especially on games where it's at noon and tailgating starts early, we'll be able to provide students with the ability to go in, eat, have a full stomach before going out, and participating in whatever activities they do before the game. But then again, we do not condone the drinking of alcohol, especially underage drinking of alcohol. But we do want to make it a safe environment to do so.
Yeah, the problem that we had been seeing actually, and that we're still honestly trying to address, is the fact that usually tailgates, either off campus or at the Blue Lots over on Bush, or even the new alley, would start and get going around 9:30. But because it was a weekend, a Saturday, the dining halls wouldn't open up until 9:30 for brunch, just because that was the norm. So essentially, students had a choice. It's 9:30. Do you go to the dining hall, or do you go to the extremely fun tailgate and then to the football game? Students usually, and unfortunately, choose the tailgate and don't really eat breakfast, a full breakfast. So our intention was open an hour earlier. Don't make them make a decision between the two, and let them pick both. So that's what we're hoping to do. We're still waiting back on data actually collected by the executive director of dining, Joe Schret, which essentially counted the number of swipes from that first hour, that extra hour that we opened it up early. We're actually meeting with him on Friday afternoon, and then we can see whether or not we're going to go forward with it this Saturday, which is another noon game against New Mexico, and then next Saturday against Iowa.
All right. And also on game day, the alley has opened to allow students to have their own section to tailgate. Now, what is the importance in a separate section for student tailgating?
So this is actually something we had been pushing for a while, and while on the surface it seems that we're promoting a space for students to drink in and do all of these, I guess, extravagant things, it's actually not that. This is part of one of our public safety initiatives and our initiatives to curtail binge drinking specifically, because what we had noticed was that many of the tailgates, when we didn't have student lots, were happening off campus. Now, off campus, besides the fact that it was completely unregulated, no one could see in, a lot of the drinks that people were drinking were a lot harder. So it wouldn't just be beer and wine, but it would be hard liquor, vodka, rum, all of that kind of stuff. So by moving people on campus, moving them to the alley, there is some sort of oversight. There are multiple RUPD officers there, and actually this weekend they'll be getting bouncers to help regulate everything. They're expecting a huge turnout this week because last week had 400 people, and a lot of people were skeptical of it because they weren't sure how it was going to be, how strict it was going to be, how lenient. So it was pretty accepted all around that it was a huge success. So this week they're expecting nearly 1,000 people to show up to the alley. So they're trying to plan for that. But most importantly, it also builds school unity and unity amongst the student body, because it takes all these people who are in different backyards on Gilden Street and Delafield Street, and it puts them all together so that way they can, interact with friends from different groups that they don't normally get to, different organizations. So.
Absolutely. Now, in all of these initiatives, alcohol is a main driving factor, as you've discussed. And a lot of these events, tailgating and partying, there may be underage drinking. Now, why has RUSA decided to take the stance of responding and providing resources to underage drinkers rather than discourage them from participating at all?
Well, again, as I said before, we do not condone underage drinking, but we do recognize that this is a current issue, that it's very widespread. And as the student government, we thought that a good way to start facing the problem is to provide an environment where there are healthy drinking habits. And then within that, possibly we could work towards ending underage drinking in the future. But for now, we want to address the people, not the people, but the current state of the issue.
Yeah. So, let's be realistic here. We are a large state university, and we can't stop everyone from drinking. We'd be ignorant to think that. Even the university knows that they can't stop every single person from drinking. Now, there are a bunch of different ways to go about curtailing drinking, and we've taken the approach to curtail binge drinking specifically. So to say, hey, look, if you do happen to drink, while we don't necessarily condone it if you're underage, if you do happen to do it, please do it safely. Please go out, eat food before a tailgate or before you go out to a party, drink some water, that kind of stuff. We're trying to be as realistic as possible. From this past weekend, we handed out 3,000 water bottles and 1,500 servings of food. during the Scarlet Knights Watch, and so many students came up to us saying, how come I haven't seen this in my entire time as a Rutgers student? I'm a senior now. This is genius, because the guy was telling me I've been drinking for 4 years now, and the university, all they've done is try to get me. They try to hit me with fines and violations of this code of student conduct. No one's tried to actually help me and promote a safer culture. And I said, yeah, that's exactly what we're trying to do. So we're going to continue to do this on high-profile party nights. The issue that we were having with it was funding. It was expensive to do, since we have to go through university services, and we're looking at ways to, mitigate the price of it, of funding this kind of endeavor. Hopefully, when we start doing it at the alley, hopefully we'll be handing out water there. Athletics will be fronting the bill for the water to promote a safe student tailgating lot experience, and then we could be staffing it to help promote our side of the issue. But we'll see how that goes. Definitely students should be looking forward to seeing us more, though, as we hope to be helping the entire student experience.
Oh, awesome. Any future initiatives we should be looking forward to?
Well, one of the ones we will be working on this week, this Thursday, 7:30 in the SAC, that's a shameless plug, our meeting, we will be hosting No More. It's a student organization focused on ending sexual violence on campus. So together we're trying to partner up and really focus on ways we can hopefully help them and partner up with them when it comes to facing this issue on campus. We're also working with Student Affairs, the Vice Chancellor of Student Affairs, Felicia McGinty, and her committee to end sexual violence. We're doing a lot of things concerning public safety on campus, and one of them is of course sexual assault. So that's one of the things you can look forward to.
All right. Well, thank you very much for coming on the show again. We look forward to having you whenever you're available. We'll be taking a quick break. We'll be back with some more stories, but please stay tuned to Night Watch.
You're listening to Rutgers Radio on 88.7 WRSU FM New Brunswick and online at WRSU.org.